Even though we thought Zlatan Ibrahimovic would never stop playing football and continue to play until 2050, sadly the San Siro has said goodbye to one of the greats in football history. I mean, to be exact, they said goodbye to him. Zlatan Ibrahimovic was one of a kind, and he even showed that at the tribute of him. I'm pretty sure everyone has seen this video.
Fischia, questo è il momento di vostro anno, che vedete me.
I'm not exactly sure why Verona fans decided to do this, but if I was a Verona fan there, I would pack my things and leave the stadium. Now, this is just one of the many legendary moments of Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and this is the exact reason why the Swede is so iconic. Remember the time Julio Cesar tried to trash talk Zlatan when he was taking a penalty against him? We all know what eventually happened after this. Or the time Ibra was ignoring a referee's call during a match, and instead of him going to the referee, the exact opposite happened. As I said, Zlatan was one of a kind. Now, you would think Zlatan started being like this when he got famous, but actually he was always himself. He was always Zlatan. So instead of me doing a typical story about Zlatan, which everybody knows already, I'm going to give you a crazy fact about Zlatan in every club he played in, because he was so crazy like these facts. Before we even start to talk about facts of the striker, let's give a quick fact about his father, Šefik. His father would always listen to the traditional Yugoslav music so much while Zlatan was growing up that he ended up creating a few of his own songs, in which some of the songs are also about Zlatan. But let's move on with the facts about Zlatan. Eventually, after moving around from one club to another in Malmö, he ended up in the main football club in Malmö and even one of the main clubs in Sweden, Malmö FF. But the crazy fact about Zlatan at Malmö is that as he was starting to be a rising star at Malmö FF, Arsene Wenger was interested in the 70-year-old striker at that time, and as Zlatan came to London, the Arsenal coach asked him to do an audition for him. My man just left saying that Zlatan doesn't do auditions.
There's only one Zlatan.
Are you sure?
Yeah. You know Zlatan?
Even though it was a pretty short time at Ajax, Zlatan of course made some iconic moments there. Now, a lot of you already know what the crazy fact for Ajax is, and that is that Zlatan scored the best Ajax goal in its 123-year-long history, according to the Ajax YouTube channel. But a lot of people don't actually know the controversial backstory of this goal. 4 days before this goal, Sweden hosted a friendly match versus the Netherlands where Zlatan played against a few of his teammates. One of the teammates being the captain of Ajax, Rafael van der Vaart. Now, it was going to be just a normal friendly match, but Zlatan ended up injuring van der Vaart. After the match, the Dutch midfielder ended up claiming to the media that the tackle was intentional from Zlatan. But on the other hand, Zlatan was saying the opposite. This was the challenge from the striker. I will let you decide on your opinion on this in the comments.
Leuk, die valt.
Because Van der Vaart was talking about this publicly, that ended up annoying Zlatan a lot, so 4 days later he wanted to take something off his chest, and boy, he took it off.
Ibrahimovic. Goed ingehouden. En nu dan een keer schieten ook.
After scoring one of the most iconic goals in football history, the director of the match just decided to pan the camera at Van der Vaart, and the goal just became 10 times more special. And 9 days after this public beef, Zlatan packed his bags and flew to Italy where he joined Juventus, and this is literally the way Zlatan said goodbye to Amsterdam. Directly in his first season at Juventus, a 24-year-old Zlatan won the Scudetto and the Serie A Foreign Player of the Year, and eventually at the end Zlatan and Kaká have won this award the most times. Even though I researched his stats at Juventus, it doesn't make sense to praise it because of the Calciopoli scandal, which is actually a crazy fact of its own. Calciopoli scandal involved allegations of match fixing and illicit relationships between football club officials and referees in Serie A, and this included Milan, Fiorentina, Juventus, Lazio and Regina. Juventus got eventually the biggest punishment where they got relegated to the Serie B. Zlatan was part of this league-winning team that got relegated, and as he was in his best years, he decided to dip and went to Milan. As Zlatan came to Inter, he won 3 Scudettos in a row. The last team to do this before Inter was the Supreme Milan side in the 90s, and with this, Zlatan already became one of the Serie A legends. The crazy fact is that in his 3rd season, he was finally the top scorer of the Serie A, and Zlatan won it in the most Zlatan way there is. In the last match day, everything was open for the top scorer award as Zlatan, Milito and Marco Di Vaio were battling for it. Until the 80th minute of the last match week, there was a tie for the top spot. Well, there was until Zlatan decided to score one of the best Serie A goals of that season.
The back flick! It's in the back of the net and Ibrahimovic has backflipped that into the goal, and what a display from the Swede! Inter take the lead, 4-3.
To have the nerves to do something like this on the last match of the season is, well, you have to be crazy to do it. But Zlatan Ibrahimovic was a different type of beast in Inter. For 3 seasons he had almost 100 goal contributions, and this was Serie A in the 2000s. This was no joke. Zlatan really didn't like to stay at one club, and he was always searching for new challenges, so he decided to go to Spain, and in fact he was the most paid transfer of Barcelona's history. Until then, Barcelona paid 69.5 million euros for him in exchange for Samuel Eto'o. Basically, the crazy fact is that with inflation, this is something like if today PSG bought Haaland for 90 million euros but also exchanged him with Mbappe, which is an absolutely crazy amount of money. Barcelona was not one of the favorite moves of Zlatan, as he ended up in a complicated relationship with Pep by the end of it. Eventually, because of that, Zlatan went back to Milan, but this time on the other side of Milan, the Rossoneri side of it. I mean, which of the crazy facts about Zlatan and his time in Milan should I even choose, because there are too many. For example, Zlatan won the first Scudetto for Milan after the Inter domination in the late 2000s, or something that didn't happen a while ago. At the age of 39, he joined them again and led AC Milan to win the Scudetto again at the age of 41 years old. That made him the second oldest to win the Scudetto, but he in fact is also the oldest player to score a goal in the Serie A. The Swede is a true Serie A legend. As I said, Zlatan didn't really enjoy to stay at one club. After 2 years he packed his things again and went to Paris. PSG ended up being the club where Zlatan played the most games, he scored the most goals, provided the most assists, and had the best goal-to-game ratio. But the crazy fact here is that Zlatan is not only a legend of PSG, but if you count the national team as well, Zlatan is a legend of 4 different football clubs. 4. Some would argue he isn't an Inter legend, but he was easily one of the key players, if not the key player, to Inter's team, which was the first team in modern football to win 5 Serie A titles in a row. The only player about whom you could also say that he's considered a 4-time club and international legend is Clarence Seedorf, but he didn't do it as good as Zlatan in the terms of statistics and importance in the team. Again, after a few seasons, Mourinho told Zlatan to come to Manchester, so again he packed his things and dipped to the red side of Manchester. In Manchester, he won his first and only European trophy in his career, so something you can't take away from Zlatan is that he was a serial winner and also an incredible leader throughout his whole career. And he has the trophies to prove it. In fact, he won over 30 club trophies in his career, and only a handful of players were able to achieve this. But the crazy fact is that Zlatan is the only player here who didn't win a Champions League, and he didn't even play a Champions League final in his career, even though he was such a beast.
Have you ever said to him, hey, you left too early?
I told him before he left. I told him before he left. And I knew already from Mr. Moratti that what was going on, the amounts involved, and that Eto'o was coming as a change to us. And I told him, you are doing the wrong move because you think you go there to win the Champions League, and we are going to win the Champions League. I did it that because I told him that because I was not happy that he was going. But in the end, I was right.
As he joined LA Galaxy, Zlatan went off the spotlight of football, but that didn't stop him to continue making iconic moments. But in my opinion, the craziest fact about Zlatan happened at LA Galaxy. And that was when he got a signed jersey by one of the greatest players to play basketball, if not the greatest, LeBron James. So what did Zlatan decide to do with it? Well, he also signed it and he sent it back to LeBron.
What's his name?
Zlatan. His crazy ass. He crazy.
But we are missing one team here. The only team that we have left is the Swedish national team, and Zlatan dominated the Swedish football scene so much that he won the Swedish Player of the Year 12 times. This is how it compares to other players when you put them in a graph. And Zlatan obviously scored one of the best goals in the history of football in his Swedish jersey. And I know everybody watching this video knows about which goal I'm talking about. From 30 meters away and becoming a ball that was 5 meters in the air, Zlatan bicycle kicked it mid-air and scored one of the most ridiculous goals ever. Imagine if this goal was not filmed and only you've seen it. You could tell it to anybody and everyone would laugh into your face as you are explaining it to him. Alright, I tried to show Zlatan's legacy in a simple way, but what else is to say about the man? Played in 7 different legendary teams, 496 goals, 700 goal contributions, 32 trophies, and many iconic moments with him. As I said, Zlatan was and will always be one of a kind. I hope you enjoyed the video and leave a subscribe if you did.